Yo, so now we're gonna be looking at this trigonometry proof question. And as always, not as always, it's probably even my second video. Well, for the people who know me, that I do teach in the school that I teach, if you happen to see this video, or in the tuition center that I teach at, if you happen to attend there, well, you'd know that I always try to explain questions by referring to general principles. So, not only to help you in this specific question, but in all questions in general. So, we have a trigonometry question here, and it's the proof ones. Now, most people dread it. Most people dread these type of questions, but we're going to confront it and try to deal with it in the best way possible. The first step that you're going to do with these type of questions is figure out which one is the most simple side. First step, which side is more simplified? So, by simplified, we mean that it cannot be expanded any more than it can, or it cannot be simplified any more than it can. We'll give an example here by referring to this is the left hand side, and referring to the right hand side. So, if we look at the left hand side, we can see that it's a lot more difficult or a lot less simplified than the right hand side. What makes us believe that that's the case? Because cosine 2a has 3 permutations, or 3 ways in which it can exist, that's reason enough for us to say, hey, you know what? This one is quite difficult, or at least more complex than the right hand side. We know cosine 2a can exist as cosine squared a minus sine squared a. It can also exist as 1 minus 2 sine squared a, or in the last form that it can exist, 2 cosine squared a minus 1. So it's a lot more complex than the right hand side. The right hand side, we have tan 2a and we have tan a. And we know tan in general is only going to open up in one way. Tan 2a will open up as sine 2a over cos 2a. And tan a will open up as sine a over cosine a. So maybe we want to do that. Maybe we want to start. Actually, we do want to start. Let me not say maybe. We definitely want to start with the right-hand side. We can see that it's more simplified than the left-hand side, but it still has some simplifying left to do. So we're going to start by dealing with this. We're going to start by dealing with the right-hand side. Sorry. So simplify more if needed. That is the second step. And what's the goal of simplifying more if needed? We want to get a goal, an ambition to work towards. We want to have a side that is fully simplified and say, okay, we want to work towards that. And that's going to make everything a lot more easier. So the right hand side, as I was saying, can open up as, so tan 2a over tan a can open up as sine 2a over cos 2a all over sine a over cos a. So you can open up like this, and obviously when we bring it back around, we're going to have to multiply. What I mean by that, it's going to be sine 2a over cos 2a over cos 2a multiplied by cos a over sine a. Now, the nice thing about this identity that we have here, the sine 2a, is that it can only open in one way. It cannot be expanded in one way, which is 2 sine a cos a. That's the only way in which it can be expanded. So let's deal with that. So if we expand it like that, remember we are still trying to simplify the most simplified side if needed, and it is needed over here. So we're going to have 2 sine a cos a over cos 2a multiplied by cos a over sine a. Now we can see something here. We can cancel this and this because there is only multiplication between the different terms. So what will we be left with? At least on top in our numerator, we'll be left with 2, because it's cos A multiplied by cos A, 2 cos squared A all over cosine 2A. Now you might ask, sir, you don't need to call me sir actually, but you might ask, hey, bro, what about the denominator? Shouldn't we also expand the denominator? And we know that we're going to run into the same problem as we have before. We know that cosine 2A can be expanded in 3 different ways. So we say, look, we don't need that. We're going to compare the left-hand side to the right-hand side and say, look, the goal that I'm trying to reach, or at least what I'm trying to do, is make the left-hand side equal to the right-hand side. I can see now that my left-hand side denominator is equal to my right-hand side denominator. So let me not be extra. Let me not do too much. I'm going to leave it like that. So we can see, as I was saying, we have here 1 plus cosine 2A. And then this is over cosine 2A. So we can see, look, here in the denominator, we are all right. We are in good terms. The only thing that we need to do now is the denominator. So what we found in the second step, we found a goal to work towards. We have in the numerator of the right-hand side, the gold-colored side, we have 2 cosine squared A. And in the green or left-hand side, we have 1 plus cosine 2A. So again, we talk about the problem of cosine 2A being it can be broken down in 3 different ways. But once you've found a side and you've simplified it to the maximum, now you already have a hint or indication what breakdown from the 3 are you going to go with. This, we want to make it cosine squared A. And I only have, at least we want to make it 2 cosine squared A. And I only have one expansion of cosine 2A that can be 2 cosine squared A. And it's this one. This is the only version of cosine 2A that can give me something close to this. We want to convert this to this. And there's only one version of cosine 2A that can give me anything close to this. So we have a hint, indication to go in that route. So a general rule of thumb is when you are dealing with cosine 2A, because you know it can be expanded in 3 ways, try to simplify your other side and see, okay, on my other side, I can see there's a sine squared A. Okay, so let me open cosine 2A as 1 minus sine squared A. I can see that there's a cosine squared A and sine squared A. So I'll use this one. And so on and so forth. Sorry for that. So now we are going to be dealing with the left-hand side. And we are going to try to make the left-hand side look like the right-hand side. So that's the third step. And we went through how we are going to do that because we know how the right-hand side numerator looks like. So I'm going to expand this and I'm going to say 1 plus, put it in brackets or parentheses to be very sure. Don't make any stupid mistakes here. So cosine squared, 2 cosine squared A minus 1. And this is going to be over, what is it? Cosine 2A. We say we're just going to leave cosine 2A like this. Now when we open the parentheses, plus cosine 2 squared A minus 1, we have 1 plus cosine 2 squared A minus 1. And we can already see the writings on the wall. We know what is going to happen here. It's quite obvious what's going to happen. 1 minus 1, the 2 like terms added to each other, cancel each other out. And then now we are at the promised land. We can see that this is 2 cosine squared A over cosine 2A. And this is equal to our right-hand side. We've solved the question. I hope that you've gotten the general solutions needed to be able to deal with this type of questions. First, find out which side is more simplified. If it's more simplified but still needs to be simplified, simplify it even more. And now you have a goal to work towards. Remember, if it's the cosine 2A, there are 3 ways in which it can be expanded. So what you need to do is make sure that you pick the one that looks very similar to your goal. And then everything else is going to be easy. It's going to be clear. You're going to be happy. At least I hope this fills the void in your soul. Okay, bye.